Good afternoon, everyone, or good morning, depending on where you're located. Thank you so much for joining us for today's webinar, Conquering Test Automation Challenges with Eggplant Software, which will include a real-world case study. We are going to get started in about 1 minute, just to give latecomers a chance to arrive. But again, thank you for joining us, and just give us about 60 seconds and we'll get going. Thank you. All right, we are going to go ahead and get started. Again, thank you for joining us for Conquering Test Automation Challenges with Eggplant Software. Very excited to have all of you joining us. My name is Bob Cruz. I am the CEO and co-founder of Checkpoint Technologies, and today I'm going to be acting as moderator. So please feel free to ask any questions. You should see a questions panel in the control panel in the upper right. Submit those questions and I will be on a lookout for those and either ask them real time or hold them till the end when we will have a discussion and Q&A period. So I am very excited to have Matt Kubal and Matt McConnell joining us today. So Matt, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself to the audience.
Which Matt?
Oh, that's right. I got Matt squared today. Matt Kubal, please.
Sure. Yeah, I've been with Checkpoint Technologies for almost 9 years now in, I guess, several roles. I came on as a support technician, and that eventually transitioned into an automation engineer, as well as a sort of general QA SME for all the QA tools that are out there. Just in working with automation, you end up having to touch all of those things, and so that's kind of where it's led me. And I was introduced to Eggplant as part of a healthcare engagement that I've been on through Checkpoint for about 7 years now, and we are using the tool. We've been using the tool for a few years now on that engagement.
Fantastic. Thanks, Matt Kubal. And Matt McConnell, you'll go next. But first, I knew to apologize because I'm sure folks are going to want to be connecting with you on LinkedIn. And correct me if I'm wrong, Matt McConnell, but your last name is spelled with 2 L's. Am I right?
That's correct. Yeah. No.
All right. I'm sorry about that, Matt McConnell. So if you'll go ahead and introduce yourself to the audience.
Sure. Thanks, Bob. Appreciate that. And hello, everyone. Again, I'm Matt McConnell. I'm the sector manager for our enterprise team here in the Americas for Eggplant Keysight. I've been with Eggplant organization for 7 years now, working across a variety of industries and sectors. So I currently manage our teams that are our financial services clients, as well as our retail clients, media, telecommunications, and then some general territory enterprise accounts as well. So really enjoyed my time at Eggplant and looking forward to the discussion today.
All right, great. Hey, thanks, Matt McConnell. I appreciate that. So with that being said, I'm going to turn it over to the two of you, the experts when it comes to the Eggplant solutions. So Matt Kubal, Matt McConnell, fire away. I think Matt Kubal, you're going to start off on this one, if I'm not mistaken.
Got to unmute. Okay. Yeah, I'll start off here. So I just want to give a quick overview of the solutions, and this isn't like an exhaustive list of everything that exists from Eggplant software, but these are kind of the ones that I feel are the heavy hitters that are important to touch on. So the first is functional. That's kind of what we're here to discuss. That's your automation tool. It's doing OCR, image-based automation. This is the tool where you do all of your scripting and playback of your scripts. The next piece here is DAI, Digital Automation Intelligence, and this is a modeling tool. So you can take those scripts that you developed in a functional tool and associate them to a model of your application where you have different decision points and stuff like that. And this tool can be used to run tests, but also, I think more importantly, actually run some exploratory testing, maybe things you aren't touching during your normal testing. It can look at those. And then the performance tool is its own standalone, semi-standalone, I should say, because it can leverage some functional scripts during your performance testing, but generally it's its own standalone performance testing tool. Matt McConnell, anything you wanted to add to those descriptions there?
Thanks, Matt. No, I think you covered it pretty well. The functional tool and the modeling are both integrated into our framework. So that's a framework that can be on-premise, hosted by us in the cloud, or put on a private cloud like Azure or Google or AWS. So that has all of your capabilities for scheduling, test, viewing results, reporting, and things like that. So it's an integrated overall solution, but those three boxes really describe well the three areas of interest.
Great. And this next slide, I was really looking forward to hearing both of your thoughts on this, because Matt Kubal, as he shared everyone, he has quite a bit of experience in functional test automation with several different solutions. So I'm looking forward to hearing, Matt Kubal, your perspective. And then, of course, Matt McConnell, being the expert in these solutions, I'd like to hear your take. So Matt Kubal, if you wouldn't mind starting off just sharing, and we've got a couple of slides on this, but what you feel some of the Eggplant software advantages are when it comes to using them out in the real world.
Yeah. So the first thing there, the technology, device, OS agnostic. In healthcare, that's super important because there's so many of the applications out there that are closed source, or you cannot get at the bottom layer of the application where you normally would for an automation tool. They're containerized. There's nothing available for you to key off of with an automation tool except for what you can see on the screen, the same way a human does. So the technology and device agnostic thing is important because you can just hit an RDP or a VNC, or even now I believe a Citrix virtual machine you can use, so that so long as you get your application up there on the screen, Eggplant can interact with it no matter what it is. And that is because the second point here, the image and OCR based scripting. So it's just looking at the screen the same way you would, clicking on an object, whether you've defined it as an image that it's looking for, not necessarily like, a JPEG picture you took of yourself, but like you've gone and recorded or defined an image of a button or a field or something like that, and it's going out and finding that again the next time through. Or the OCR option, which is looking specifically for text on the screen. That is why the technology and device agnostic part exists, right? Because all you need to do is be able to see it on the screen. And then once you have those objects, your OCR or image objects, you're using SenseTalk to interact with them. And the SenseTalk language is probably, I would argue, one of the easiest to learn and pick up of any of the scripting languages. It's really well documented on the Eggplant site with examples and all of that. And it's very plain language. So you can see here, there's an example of click username field. And in this example, a username field would be an image that you had defined before the test started, right? So there's a username field image that's going to go out and compare to the screen and find it. It's going to click on that. And then you're going to type test user. You can click on the password field, type your password, then click the submit button. It's as simple as that. It's really easy to read. It's 5 lines to do 5 different actions. So there's not a lot of, or frequently you don't necessarily have to comment something that is plainly obvious. Like I don't have to create some giant description for handling some class or something like that to tell somebody what I'm doing somewhere. So that covers slide 1. I don't know if Matt McConnell, you want to talk about these before we move to the next slide, or come back?
Sure. Just to comment on that, this image-based approach is unique in the market. And while we do support things that don't have a screen with API testing, we can support and do support object-based testing with Selenium and Appium integration. Now, one of the key reasons people select Eggplant is this image-based and character-based recognition, right? It's testing software the way human users use the software. So we're not underneath the technology covers. We don't load anything on the device or the system under test. So it's completely non-invasive and as you say, agnostic, right, to what the device is, what the operating system is, and what the application is written in. It doesn't matter, right? We're interacting with software the way the human user uses it, the notion of a synthetic human tester. So, it can look for menus and buttons and drop downs and things on the screen. It can look for text like a human would. It can read from the screen right to the screen. So those give you a number of advantages. One, again, it works across all technology stacks. It as non-invasive, it allows us to test across different applications. So many test cases aren't isolated to one application. The integration between applications, in a modern microservices architecture is so critical. So, we have customers testing and then going and back and checking the back end systems, databases, API integration. So in a single test case, you can combine different technologies, different devices and different systems for critical end-to-end testing to make sure that the users are having the right experience. And that SenseTalk language, that English-like or English-adjacent language is purpose-built for test automation. So unlike Java or Python or other languages that traditional testing tools require you to program in, it's very English-like and easy for a non-programmer to pick it up and to become proficient in. As long as you can think logically and understand the applications you're testing. So we have in healthcare, we have nurses that have come over to help test the EMR systems that they're implementing from Epic or Cerner, for example, and they can pick this up. But you can get very programmatic in it with conditionals and loops and if then else's and all kinds of technical requirements, as needed and as you grow. So, that I think that that kind of gives you a good understanding of how that image-based approach can help. And previous attempts at image-based technology, people found they were very brittle. But over the years, since Eggplant came out in 2008 as a commercial product, we've added so many capabilities to make that reliable, repeatable, that test execution, right? So we're not looking at coordinates on the screen. We're looking for a particular image, and if it moves around the screen, we can still find it. So unless you want to say it has to be in a specific location, a movement of a image or text is not going to make the test fail. And there's lots of other adaptive and self-healing type of capabilities that give you tolerances for images and text and things of that nature to make that just super reliable and repeatable.
That is Matt McConnell. That's very slick. And I actually you answered one of our first questions, or our first question already, and it was directed to both of you, where one of our listeners mentioned that they found image-based testing to be flaky, and we all have with other tools. Is there something about Eggplant that would make me think differently? And you just mentioned that it's not location-based. So if it moves around the screen. So can the same be said if the resolution of the machine were to change, it would still find that object or that image?
Yeah, so there's a number of capabilities that can help there. If the resolution changes, slightly, you can have that accommodate that with some tolerance settings. There are also some self-healing capabilities that said, I didn't see exactly what you told me to look for, but I saw this, and if it's within a certain range, you can say that's going to be acceptable. There are other things where you might have an image that has both light and dark mode, right? So we have a notion of image collection. So you can capture an image in both modes and say, I'm looking for either one of these, right? Or if an item is selected, it might change color, things like that, right? So, we have people that are running tests on mobile devices and executing the same test on iOS and Android where the images might render slightly differently. So you might capture an image for Android and the same image for iOS, so that, again, when it runs the test, it says it looked for either of these and these are acceptable, move on to the next step of the test.
Great, great, thanks. So some other advantages. Matt McConnell, you want to start off with these?
Sure. I think I touched on the end-to-end testing, right? But we find that more and more important for folks that, they bought tools that test web and another one that tests a different platform, maybe a tool for mobile, but struggle mightily to try to stitch those together to do across an enterprise. A great example of that's financial services customers where, they have web and mobile customer-facing applications. They may have loan origination software that's Windows-based, that runs on Citrix. And in a lot of these big financial services, they're still running mainframe applications. So we're able to automate across those different systems in a single test case where you're, maybe doing initiating something on a web or a mobile device, and it goes and flows downstream and finally winds up in the mainframe. So that kind of end-to-end testing is difficult to do, and it's one of the places where Eggplant really shines. That ability to automate anything allows us to do a lot of RPA, or robotic process automation, as well. So Eggplant is really marketed as a test automation tool. We have many customers doing RPA things, right? I've got some information coming in from the web. I need to get it into SAP, and someone spends 4 hours every day doing that, right? You can automate those kind of processes with Eggplant. A lot of our healthcare customers are loading patient test data into the systems before they run the test via essentially a Eggplant script that's a robotic process automation. And the model-based approach is relatively new. Another term for that is a digital twin. So you might hear a lot about digital twins in the marketplace across a variety of sectors and applications. But the idea is, rather than write linear test scripts, you write, you indicate a model of the flow of the application or across the applications that you're testing. And the different states and actions or screens, things you can do on a screen, you put that in the model and you indicate the navigational possibilities. I can go from this menu to any of these pages. I can only go to this one after I've done some other action, right? Sequence actions, things like that. So the navigational part of it is in this intelligent model. And then what happens is, for each action in the model, you put a small chunk of the automation code or script, that Eggplant SenseTalk code, in that one action. So it's really breaking automation code down into really small, easy to understand and easy to fix chunks, right? And so one of the things that gives you is this very visually rich environment where you can really see what's being tested. You can see where I have deeper or shallower test coverage against this application. You can see where I have greater numbers of defects and heat maps and things of that nature. So this visually rich environment allows more than automation engineers to really participate in test automation. But that model-based approach allows you to generate more tests in a more rapid fashion than just linearly writing one script after another. Now, good automation will modularize that code for reusability, but the model really takes that to another level, right? And so that action, proceed to payment screen, does just that. Clicks on proceed to payment and validates that screen has come up. So many test cases share these common actions and things that a model-based testing can really allow you to do many more tests more quickly. One of the other key areas is the reduction in maintenance. So model-based testing, when you have a change in your application, you go to the one place in the model that's affected and make that change. Any user journey that flows through that action's now been updated. So it's a way of creating automation faster and also reducing the maintenance burden that we hear so often is a huge challenge in test automation. The more automation I create and the more rapid my application changes, the more maintenance I'm doing, and they end up chasing the maintenance more than writing additional application, and it can become a diminishing asset. So model-based testing is really designed to try to alleviate some of those challenges. And then last advantage of model-based testing is in between your directed testing, your smoke tests, your full regression tests that you want to run, made either by a CI/CD pipeline integration or on demand or on a scheduled basis. In between those types of directed testing runs, you can have the system doing what we call exploratory testing, and that's really going through the different possible scenarios, but it's not doing it randomly. It's by a number of different AI and machine learning based algorithms that say, where do we have shallower test coverage? Let's go test those areas. Where are we seeing more defects? Let's do bug hunting where it tests similar but slightly different user journeys. We can even import information from real user monitoring tools. Let's test the areas that are the most popular user journeys, the most profitable ones, or the most problematic ones. So that AI assisted exploratory testing can really complement your traditional directed testing approach, if that makes sense.
Great, it does, it makes perfect sense. And we actually just had another question thrown in, which is very timely. Can you mix model-based and script-based testing?
Yes, you can. So in that framework, you can either execute tests that are model-based or script-based. So things like RPA obviously are usually single-threaded activities that run on a scheduled or on-demand basis. But you can mix, models and script-based testing in the Eggplant framework.
Great, great. And Matt Kubal, before I move to the next slide, is there anything you'd like to add?
Oh, I think Mr. McConnell could handle it way better than I could have. Although I'll say that the actual end-to-end testing thing, it applies in healthcare as the same way it applies in, say, the financial sector, as he was alluding to. We have roll and scroll interfaces that can feed into what appears to be like an application from 1995, and then you have your modern web app, and all those things are like connected to the same back end. But I don't have to worry about which add-in or what do I need to do to enable my automation tool to even see any of this. I don't have to worry about it. I can have them all open right next to each other on the screen and be working with them together with using Eggplant and not have to worry about that. So I can spend more time actually scripting and less time dealing with my technology problems, just getting to the first line of my script.
Oh, nice, nice. Well, great. Well, great. So with that, I know Matt McConnell is going to cover the vast majority of this, if not all of it, but a fantastic real-world case study with Staples.
Yeah, yes, thanks, Bob. I was working with our retail clients, and we had an opportunity at Staples. Their challenge was that they were implementing a new point of sale system and modernizing their store systems applications. And they had selected the Oracle Xstore platform. I think there's a slide on this to follow. Is that right? Yeah. So one of the challenges in retail, right, and this is true across most industries, but in retail, there's a lot of specific challenges in store where you have not only software to test, but it's tied into physical equipment. And again, we see this in other industries like healthcare and manufacturing and automotive and others, right, where it's not just software, it's software and physical things as well. And that's particularly true in retail, right? So you have, a point of sale application that could be on a kind of a legacy or fixed point of sale terminal. More and more popular is what they call mobile point of sale, or MPOS. So the ability to go to a customer and do a transaction, across the store, or as needed, as lines form, you can have line busting with mobile point of sale, self-service kiosks. The proliferation of different ways of interacting in retail is only growing. Another one you may see in grocery now is what they call scan and go, where you have a mobile device that either you bring your own device and use their app, or you take a device that they have for you in the store and you just scan as you load your cart, and then basically pay at the checkout without having to go through a checkout line. But also this end-to-end type of requirements where e-commerce and retail in-store are more and more tightly integrated. I can buy online, pick up in the store. I can buy online, it doesn't fit, I can return to the store, make an exchange. I can go to the store, if they're stock out of a particular size I want, they can issue a e-commerce order. So all of this integration and customer loyalty systems create a challenging environment for retailers. If you could skip ahead, Bob. So again, Staples, has this, had this, a few years ago now, had this initiative to modernize their in-store systems. They selected the Oracle X-Store platform, and the testing tools that they had and they used currently, they deemed were not going to work in this environment, not going to be sufficient for the testing they needed to do, as well as for the type of resources that they had in their environment. So they did an evaluation across a number of applications and selected Eggplant. One of the key factors in point of sale testing is payments, right? So payment systems by design are extremely locked down, and you're unable to break into them to automate the software that runs on those payment systems, and that's designed for security. So, currently or previously, the only way to test those systems was manually. You had a human user, enter a number of items, select a payment type, and go over to the PIN pad and input the information, the PIN number, and things of that nature, right? So the approach that, and we worked on this over a year, starting with companies like Walmart, was to take robotics and leverage that to eliminate some of that super repetitive manual testing. So, the current state of the art is robotics from a Keysight Eggplant partner called Intellica that has a frame-based robot, much more reliable than a robotic arm that moves in 360 degrees. It looks like a 3D printer, but it has cameras mounted, and Eggplant's visual technology can see what that camera sees and compare the prompts on the payment terminal. It can enter information on the PIN pad. It can sign on the touch screen if it's a touch screen type of device. It can insert the credit card. It's really an actuator that goes back to a multiplexer for 16 different types of payment cards, and you can stack those up. It supports the mag swipe, the chip and pin, and also the contactless tap or phone-based payments now that are becoming so popular. So payment processing is a huge part of the use case in point of sale testing. And if you don't automate that, you can get automation and do only cash transactions, but that's only a fraction of the number of user journeys you need to test. So you still have all these manual tests to do payments, right? And it prevents retailers from getting to a high enough level of test coverage to shrink down their development cycle as they want to. With all the changes in retail and the competitive landscape, they really need to release software much more frequently. And the result of this was that they took their full regression test from an all hands on deck 2-week process to an overnight process. They started with a couple of the robots and have grown that to 10 or 12 of them to do their full regression test in an overnight process. They're also doing their payment certification, which is a process you have to go through for every card type that you do. You have to do certifications on all of those. So they've been able to automate that, in their store testing systems.
And Matt McConnell, this is not a question from our audience. It's actually a question from me. Do you recall at all the estimated number of resource hours that may have saved Staples in reducing that regression test suite execution time?
I don't have that off the top of my head, but when you look at the number of people doing testing, that taking over a 2-week time period to reducing that to an overnight, the ROI was significant.
Oh, it had to be.
More important than just the time savings is that ability to A, more thoroughly test the software and the system, the peripherals, and B, allow them to release software more frequently because of all these changes. You know, some of them were COVID introduced, but some of them are just part of the market now. But you know, people be able, you know, things like, you know, buy online, pick up at curb, for example, and different ways of interacting with retailers. They just need to release software much more frequently than was traditional, where they were doing, you know, quarterly releases and things of that nature.
Right. Fantastic. Excellent. Well, I know that there is an excellent recorded demo, which I'm going to execute now, and it has some great narrative. If any of you have any questions, please feel free to submit those in the question panels. And just to remind everybody, this presentation is being recorded. More than happy to send you the recording. Just send me an email or a text afterwards. But with that being said, and this is about maybe 6 minutes long. So if you have any popcorn, outstanding. If not, then just pretend. But here we go.
Hi, my name is Steve Barretto, Senior Solutions Engineer at Keysight. I'm at the NRF event in New York
Bob,
City.
I'm not seeing that on the screen. Just
showing automation of
Thank you. I'm going to fix that now, I hope.
Point of sale, thanks to ePOS Now. And through this automation, it's going to log into the ePOS Now, add some items, change the basket, and then
Are you seeing it now?
with, credit card.
I have not.
I apologize, everybody. Bear with me here one moment. And now?
My name is Steve
Yes,
Barretto,
thank
Senior
you.
Solutions Engineer at Keysight. I'm at the NRF event in New York City. I am here showing automation of functional testing against a point of sale, thanks to ePOS Now. And through this automation, it's going to log into the ePOS Now, add some items, change the basket, and then do a transaction with a credit card. So I'm going to start this transaction now. So here is the model. Eggplant is connecting to the ePOS Now via VNC. There is the unit. Eggplant is intelligently waiting for the login screen to come up by waiting to read the verbiage. Please enter your passcode. Take a step back. It found, please enter your passcode, selected manager, and now it is logging in. Now at this point in the model, it's going to add items, a list of products. There is the point of sale. Out of the 6 items, Eggplant is going to select randomly 5 items. As you can see, Eggplant is selecting different items. And this data is not hard-coded in the Eggplant script. It's actually being fed into Eggplant Digital Automation Intelligence as a spreadsheet. Same thing with the staff information during login. 1, 2, 3, 5 items. Oh, it's done. Now, as part of the model, Eggplant is reviewing the basket and is going to change the quantity of orange juice. Just changed it from 1 to 2. Now, at this point, Eggplant is following the model to pay with credit card, but this is where the Windows SUT comes into the picture. There is a webcam inside the robot where Eggplant is going to read the screen on the Verifone P400 Plus. Now Eggplant invokes card. Eggplant read enter tip. Here's the robot. Present card. It just presented the card. The test credit card is here. Select options, doing 1 and OK. Sign below. It read sign below, so it now just stylus on the robot did a signature, pressed OK. It is now approved. A receipt was printed. And now that the test has successfully passed, it is in the progress of cleaning up the environments to put the test environment back the way it was. As you can see in the logs, test is completed. It's exiting out of the ePOS now, back to pre-login. And now the test has now passed. These are all the steps that Eggplant has gone through, just like an end user. These are the logs for each of the steps. And taking a step further, Eggplant also captured screenshots. This is a screenshot Eggplant took when everything was added, the items were added into the basket. So this is the screenshot of the 5 out of the 6 items that Eggplant randomly chose. It also took a screenshot of the basket. It doesn't have to take a full screenshot. It can take a screenshot of the partial screen, and this is the basket showing the item that was changed. One more thing I want to point out is this is a directed test case that Eggplant, that I ran through Eggplant DAI. But Eggplant does have intelligence and machine learning indicating coverage heat maps, what has been tested. So the blue shows all the actions in this business process flow, but the gray shows what hasn't been tested. Testers test what they know. With digital automation intelligence, Eggplant is indicating what hasn't been tested, such as the order layaway. Been deleting a basket, but there hasn't been delete a basket and cancel. What about tax exemption, basket discount, so on and so forth. Furthermore, there are different coverage types and analytics that Eggplant provides. From the machine learning perspective, there's something called full exploratory, where Eggplant has learned enough and I can have Eggplant run tests on its own. At this point, Eggplant has covered only 2% of this model. 30 user paths have been identified and tested out of a total of 3,858 user paths. In other words, there are 3,858 scenarios that Eggplant has identified. And what do I mean by that? Testers test what they know. Add an item, check out, did it pass or fail? Real user journey is let's add an item, change an item, add an item, delete an item, let's delete the basket, let's pay, let's go back out. Those are real user journeys, and that's what Eggplant attempts to do as an end user. So the more exploratory tests that you run, the more you get close to 100% test coverage. Again, my name is Steve Barretto, Senior Solutions Engineer at Keysight. Thank you.
Oh, great, great. And now everybody, let's see. All right. And you're still seeing my screen, right?
Yes.
All right, fantastic, everybody. I'm really sorry about that snafu. I did that intentionally just to prove to the audience that this is a real live demo. We didn't edit anything out. Trust me, when things are pre-recorded, I edit my mistakes out. But thank you very much for providing that to us, Matt McConnell. That was great. And just so Matt and Matt shared some excellent information. They talked about an approach to testing visually and the differentiators with the Eggplant solutions. You know, the fact that they're non-invasive technology and device agnostic. It allows to end-to-end testing across all systems. And then when you look at the model-based testing, the fact that it's low to no code, visually rich environment, you've got reporting and predictive analytics that they discussed. You're able to accelerate the development of automation while reducing the maintenance time and level of effort. And there's AI and machine learning based exploratory testing, which I thought the recorded demo covered brilliantly. I thought that was very slick. And then Matt McConnell provided a fantastic real world case study with Staples. So with that being said, we've got some excellent time. We've got some time for questions and discussions. So if any of you have any questions, please feel free to submit those in the questions panel. And we already have a few. So the first one that had come in is actually to you, Matt Kubal, because you shared that you've known this for a couple of years, you've had the training. In regard to Eggplant Functional, Matt Kubal, what did you find the learning curve to be?
Thanks for the question. It's really, to me, it's one of the easiest to learn, right? And part of that might be because there's a certain logic behind the test design and scripting. So I already had that coming into it. So maybe I have it a little easier in that respect. But as far as the language itself goes, I can go to one source, the Eggplant website, and be able to look up, basically everything I need to do and see examples. Whereas other testing tools, you spend a lot of time, or I spend a lot of time, digging through sort of other people's solutions and making them work for me. Going out and grabbing other people's code and replacing what you need. Things that I would never dream of having wanted to do in VBScript, and suddenly I'm doing, but I need somebody else to tell me how to do it. Whereas with the Eggplant tool, it's pretty simple to especially get started, and then all of those more advanced things are there. It's just that it might require a little more understanding of the language, but it's all there for you, and the training is free and available on their website, which is awesome. It's you're not having to pay for training, and it is pretty advanced. It goes pretty far in depth as to what can be accomplished with Eggplant.
Great, thanks. And
So
Matt,
I guess I should say, you could probably pick it up and be fairly proficient, maybe 90% of the way there within a few weeks of like actual use and studying, I would say.
and Matt Kubal, if somebody did not have any prior automation experience, would you say a little bit longer?
Probably. There's some sort of logic concepts of scripting that you might have some difficulty picking up, but once you have those, it's off to the races. Um, our best testers, our best scripters are nurses. Matt McConnell has mentioned this. You get nurses in who know the application, and they have the logic there. They have a very logical mind, medical mind, so they can pretty easily pick up the logic, and the scripting is all plain English. So they're some of the best scripters out there.
Yeah, great point. And Matt McConnell, in that same vein, another question that came in, what kind of technical skills would you recommend to implement Eggplant test automation?
Yeah, so, again, as we've talked about, of actually creating the tests, whether you're scripting or model-based testing, it's a relatively low barrier to entry, especially compared to tools that are Java or Python-based programmatic languages. You do need to have folks from IT, your dev, security and operations team, as far as helping with the architecture. It's typically server-based, and then the tester's machine could be a laptop or a desktop or a virtual machine that they're working on to create the scripting and work with the models. So it's good to have that technical team to rely on from an architecture and connectivity standpoint. But once all that's set up, it's relatively low barrier to entry. We do find some customers, especially in the model-based testing, they might have a business analyst or other folks that are working with the models, and maybe an automation engineer that has some programmatic capabilities that might help with the scripting underneath that if they need to get something more advanced, with parsing of data and things like that. But we also have folks that can help with script examples or other things that will help if you have some challenging automation requirements. So again, for the general scripters, I think it's relatively low barrier of entry. You do need to think logically and understand the systems that you're testing, but that CS experience is not required.
Great, thanks. And I think we have time for one more question, and here's another one thrown out to you, Matt McConnell. Does Keysight Eggplant offer a mobile device and browser farm?
We do. So test infrastructure is becoming more and more challenging for folks, right? IT puts more and more hurdles on just spinning up devices or servers and things of that nature. So increasingly, customers are turning toward mobile device farms and browser farms to give you easier infrastructure to test on. These are cloud-based farms that are hosted by a third party, and we can leverage most any of those where you navigate through Eggplant to choose a device and things of that nature. But we do have a partnership with the group we feel is the leader in this sector, is a company called Sauce Labs. So we built a native integration into Sauce Labs, so you can go and select the device you want, the operating system, the version of the operating system, the version of the device, etc. Same thing on browsers. What version of the browser, what version of the operating system, especially when you have customer-facing applications where you don't control what device they're working on. You really need to test across a wide variety of these combinations, right? So when you start to multiply that out, it becomes challenging to have that much test infrastructure in-house. And with mobile devices, it's really challenging to manage the power, the battery life, the heat and temperature that can be created. So more and more customers are turning toward these kind of things where you have access to either a public farm of devices or private devices that are dedicated to your company.
Great. Well, thanks, Matt McConnell. That was excellent. And with that, hey, everybody, just a little bit about Checkpoint Technologies. So we are very excited because just in the middle of January, we celebrated our 20th anniversary in business. We're very excited about that. Our focus, our primary focus is and has always been quality assurance and software testing. So functional, performance, and application security testing. We are very proud to be partners with Keysight Eggplant, as well as a number of other excellent organizations. We're a services partner with Absolute Cyber Defense to really strengthen our expertise in application security testing. And another recent alliance, and I'm very excited about, is we work with Rex Black and his organization to provide ASTQB training. So if you have any questions on that, please feel free to contact us. And then Matt McConnell, I'm going to turn it over to you to tell a bit more about Eggplant.
Sure. So I think most of this is summary here, but this is really kind of a pictogram of the Eggplant platform, overall called Digital Automation Intelligence, but it includes the scripting and the modeling approaches that we talked about, and all of the reporting and analytics. It's a server-based architecture that, again, can be on-premise, can be hosted in a private cloud, or hosted by us. And it has integration with all of the tooling that you might expect from a CI/CD pipeline, from a test management system, from repositories like GitHub and Bitbucket, and in collaboration tools like Slack. So very comprehensive framework and solution overall.
Great.
And, you know, again, we work, we mentioned the retail sector, and we talked a little bit of healthcare, but financial services, we're very big in aerospace and defense. The NASA mission to Mars is being tested. It's an all glass cockpit. It's going to be the first space mission with no paper on board because of the weight on such a journey of that magnitude. So, you know, that user interface and that software has got to be right. And they're testing that with Eggplant. We're very strong in the telco across software companies and hardware as well. So a good comprehensive capabilities across a range of industries.
And I just want to emphasize that point, because even though the case study and as well as the recorded demo was focused on retail, your solutions, as everyone can see, covers a variety of key markets. Because we've got listeners, you know, on the webinar that are in several of these different industries. So very good to know and great reminder for everyone. With that being said, everyone, I want to take this opportunity to thank Matt McConnell and Matt Kubal. Excellent job, gentlemen. All the mistakes were on me. Sorry about that, but excellent job. So thanks, Matt McConnell.
Thank you. Appreciate everyone's time today.
You bet. And thanks, Matt Kubal.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, everybody. Have a great day. And when you close out, when we end this webinar, there will be a short poll or survey. If you wouldn't mind taking that, I'd appreciate it. Have a great day, everyone.